Hello, welcome to Gooner Gathering. My name's Dom, and I am just updating you on the news that Emerson reported yesterday on the channel that Edu has reportedly left the club. That is now the case, with an official statement from Arsenal yesterday confirming that he was in fact leaving. I think it's a decision that came out of the blue, a bit of a surprise, and I think one that's probably divided the fans. Some absolutely devastated that he's gone, through to those that are having a party about it. So I just wanted to share a couple of reflections that I had on what I think this means for Arsenal and on Edu's time here. So I think let's start with reflections on Edu's time here. I think he's obviously inherited a very, very difficult situation when he took over the reins. Arsenal were a club that were directionless to many extent. They were struggling very much to find their place, to get them back to the period they were on when Wenger was at his prime, and we were sliding. And I think he came in and I think he played a big part in the cultural shift um, that Arsenal have undergone under both him and Arteta as manager, where the club has an identity again. The club has a code of conduct that the players sort of sign up to and buy into. And I think he sort of changed the way Arsenal look to buy players. And, he didn't do that straight away. At first, we sort of continued the model in terms of purchases, despite the sort of attempts to shift the culture, but to really buy senior players that were relatively cheap, that maybe were no longer in their prime. Players like Liechtensteiner sort of spring to mind as purchases have sort of defined that sort of idea. Willian being the obvious one that Edu signed. Liechtensteiner, I don't think it was an Edu signing, but he sort of demonstrates the continuation of that at first. And I think after that season where that one season Willian played for us, I thought we sort of saw the change in identity and culture that I think he and Arteta have sort of delivered together. And I think we've really seen him make some, in terms of signings, there's two parts to his signings. There's the sort of pre-Ben White summer signings, where he got some signings right. Some of the big name players that he brought in then were the right sort of players. But for the most part, he was sort of buying squad players that were sort of low risk, high reward, that many didn't work out. Players like Sambi Lokonga, players like Nuno Tavares. But he did strike gold with Gabby Martinelli, and it probably just shows the hit rate there when you're signing those sort of players is low. But after that Ben White, that Willian season into the Ben White summer, I think he's had very few misses. Vieira being the obvious one that sort of stands out. But otherwise, I think, Zinchenko, Jesus were revolutionary signings, and it shows the progression of the squad now that they are squad players and probably players on their way out. Ben White, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and you sort of see how well Arsenal have signed in the second half of Edu's tenure, when we've sort of become more established and we've become better. How he's got them right, and it's not easy to do. So I think first half not so good, second half of his signings quite good, but I think the context is important around the first half. You're signing backup players for a side that's not very good. Your hit rate's probably going to be low, and I think that needs to be remembered when reviewing that. Conversely, I think the issues with Edu, if you're going to have any, I think culturally he got it right. Signings wise, I think he's got it largely right. The big criticism, and it's the right one, I think, for Edu, is his ability to sell players. Rob Holding, Crystal Palace, 4 million. Okay, it's not worked out there, but Rob Holding is an experienced Premier League defender. Could have got more for him. But Leno, the obvious one, was 7, 8 million. With the add-ons being sort of got for him. Martinez went to Aston Villa, probably below value. There was a load of free signings as well, or players that had their contract paid out. Bellerin, Aubameyang, Ozil. Now I understand those. I think this sort of connects back to the culture, that these were disruptive players who weren't prepared to buy into the way Arsenal wanted to do things anymore, and it was sort of the ability to overcome the dressing room power and rest the power back from dressing rooms. We've seen that blight Chelsea. We've seen it blight Manchester United, that we really wanted to conquer. I'm fine with those ones, but I think those early sales were really, really poor for him. And I know the European market was tight, and I know it wasn't helped by the quality of our players, but I think he undersold significantly. That has changed slightly last summer. Balogun, I thought he got good value for. Xhaka, he managed to renegotiate and get an increased price, but probably still undervalued. This summer, much better. But I think the criticism of Edu on outgoings is certainly valid and right. So I think no problem there. So I think that's Edu's tenure. I think it's been a mixed bag would be fair, but I think he is slightly harshly judged by some of the perceived failings when you look at the context around it. But what does this mean for Arsenal going forward? I think his relationship with the players was strong, but his ability to sort of stay strong and determined is equally good, and I think really important. And he always balances out Arteta. It's important to have that strong counterbalance to the manager that can sort of say, is this the right thing to do, and really think it through and sort of not overrule the manager, but work with him. And they both had to sign off on it, and he understood the club, and I think that's really important. So I think overall, the risk now for Arsenal going forward is, how do you replace Edu? And they have to get it right. Have to find someone that can work with Arteta, someone that can work with the players and buys into the culture of the club and can continue on the good work he's done, so that we can become a really successful side for years to come. So that was my view on Edu. Hopefully you'll see more videos in the coming days and weeks from us here at Gooner Gathering. Please, whether you agree with me or not, do like, subscribe, comment. It really helps Lee and the channel out. And hope to see you soon. Thanks. Bye.